Hi everyone. So this is Fenmore, and I did something really dumb. And that was I somehow accidentally deleted an entire episode that was supposed to be released before this one. I don't know what happened. I really don't. Life is a blur around here sometimes. But the episode you're about to hear is actually the second part in our new series about Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic. Now, let me tell you, this book, okay, this book, hands down, has been one of the best purchases of my entire life and completely changed my mindset when it comes to creativity. I know for a fact as well that it has impacted Jess, and that's why we wanted to start this series. Again, this is not the first episode we recorded, so we skipped a few pages, but that's cool because this book doesn't have to be done in a chronological order. So we'll just re record the first episode next week. So moving forward, I solemnly swear to try not to delete any more episodes. I'll try. I'm not making promises, okay? But, anyways, enjoy this episode, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 10 of the Exceptions podcast. Today is part 2 of our Big Magic series. So, if you're new to the Exceptions podcast, myself, Jess, and my friend Fenmore talk about some exceptional topics and our journey as aspiring creatives towards our big dreams. Fenmore, what is your big dream?
Being a successful recording artist and having my own world tour.
Nice. And I've generally been saying that my big dream is to be a best-selling author. But after rereading Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic, for the third time, as Fenmore and I are doing right now, I feel more like saying I want to be an author. And it's showing a bit more commitment and openness to just my creative journey and being an author, no matter what that looks like in terms of external success.
Wow. So reading the book has slightly changed your mindset already?
I literally think I need to be reading this book at all times, just in constant rotation.
Like I told you, it's my creative Bible. It's absolutely amazing.
Like weekly Bible study, pick a verse and like study it. This is our recommendation to you guys.
Absolutely. But before we get into that, do you want to just do a little quick checkup and exceptional stuff?
I do. Okay, so yeah, we're going to talk about, Fenmore, what's something exceptional that happened to you this week or that you saw?
Okay, well, I mean, I guess there's two things. One of them being that I started my new project. It's finally has begun. The Libra Rising collaboration project has started. I chose to start with a very left field song for me. It was like not something I usually do. And to be honest, I was kind of scared of how people will take it. But as per usual, most people don't care. It's totally fine. So I think it's a really cool way to start the project. I'm super excited about it. There's about 5 to 6 artists that I'm collaborating with up until the end of the year. So I'm really excited for these songs because some of my best songs are on this project. So I'm really excited for that. Nice. And then can I have 2 exceptional things?
Of course.
Because the other one's kind of real cool. I don't know why, but I started watching and binging Among Us videos. Like, so if you don't know
like
Among Us, yeah, Among Us is the game. It's really popular. It's the most popular streaming game right now.
Do you watch like the offline TV cast at all play it?
No, I usually just watch like the regulars like Pokemon and Corpse and Toast.
Pokemon?
Did I say Pokemon?
Are you talking about like the girl?
Poke, yeah.
Yeah, she's an offline TV. So I think we're
I
watching
didn't know.
the same videos.
I think we're watching. But the exceptional thing that happened was AOC played with them, and I thought it was really cool. She's like really changing the game.
Who's AOC? Oh, AOC.
AOC, really? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
I didn't even know she was.
De los Estados Unidos. Yeah, that's really cool. I also heard she plays League. And she might start streaming League on Twitch as well. I'm like, I haven't played League in months. I played the other day, but it was like kind of bored of it. But she plays it. She's silver. So I'm like, wow. Anyways, I
That
always
is
bring politics
crazy.
up, even though it never makes the cut, but it probably will this time because I'm not going to cut. How
That's
about
interesting
you?
that you brought that up because I was going to talk something about offline TV, which is related, but also I did start playing League of Legends again in the last week after not playing it for like 2 years. And it is doing what I thought it would do, which is take over my life again. But I've set some boundaries for myself, so we should be okay. But on that note, my exceptional thing, well, the first one's just really small. I also have two. I just went on Instagram and they basically have TikTok on there now. I don't know if you noticed along the bottom bar, they have a middle button where you click on it and it's just TikTok. So once again, they've taken over
Reels?
another
Yeah.
app and it's going to be gone and I can't get away. Anyways,
TikTok's hard to beat, though. I don't think TikTok's going anywhere. Do you know they're actually a music label now? I don't think,
wow.
yeah, they can't push, like, Instagram can't push music the way TikTok does, I don't think.
That's true. That's,
But
yeah.
go ahead. What were you saying?
The other one was I listened to a podcast by a writer, self development guy. His name's Brennan Burchard. I've read, I think, most of his books in the past. And his podcast was about procrastination. And it just had some really good points that sat well with me. One of them was when we procrastinate, if we kind of ask ourselves what we're worried about and then flip it, it can be helpful. So, kind of address all of our what if fears and then reverse them. For example, when it comes to writing, I procrastinate because I worry I won't have anything there. What if nothing comes out of me? Well, on the other end of that, what if something amazing comes out of me? Or what if people don't like it? On the other hand, well, what if people love it and it changes lives? But at the
Mhm.
same time, what if people don't like it? So what? It's not a big deal. Um, but yeah, it
Yeah.
was a good episode. And he also touched on like time blocking, which is something that I think I get resistant to because I'm like, I just want to be in the flow and just whatever, work with inspiration and creativity. But I'm pretty clearly someone who needs that. And I
Yeah, you do.
don't,
Like, I just
yeah.
noticed when I was editing the last podcast and I was telling you what to do. You got, like I said in the subtitles, irrationally giddy. It was like you love being told what to do. I was like, that's kind of weird.
Well,
Just
it's
like literally like, oh yes, someone tell me what I should do with my life right now.
because I don't listen to myself for some reason, but I need to listen to myself because I need to put boundaries on myself as well. So
Yes.
by putting these time blocks in where it's just like, so far it's been going well where it's like this time in the morning you write, this time in the night you write, and then blocking off time where it's like in these couple hours you can do whatever the fuck you want, and it's coming, it's at the end of the day because you're going to try and do it anyway throughout the day. So if I just block it in, it's kind of like what I was talking about before, more like you have more curiosity and creativity fill in the blank space in your schedule when you've blocked time for that kind of time wasting stuff versus when you let the time wasting stuff fill up all your extra space. Does that make sense?
Yeah. More structure.
Anyways,
I mean, I think we'll get a little bit
yeah.
into that because Elizabeth Gilbert in Big Magic talks about ideas being their own entity and they want to see you
Yes.
show up every day. Show up. But before we get
Yes.
into that, talking about writing, have you been writing every day?
I
Have
have.
you been following Dr. Fenmore's prescription?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I'm too excited about people telling me what to do, apparently.
Has it been good for you though?
Yeah, it has. It's oftentimes it will just look like a self reflection. And that's the best way for me to start because I really enjoy that. And it's really easy for me to just sit down with like kind of an outline of like, what are you grateful for? What are your plans for the day? Like, what do you hope to accomplish? And then just free space at the bottom to start writing. And once I start writing, sure, maybe nothing shareable comes from it, but oftentimes there'll be something in there that I copy and paste, like I say, into my book document. So it's good. And then other times you get in the flow and it's awesome. Sometimes you don't. And that's kind of the whole point, which, like you said, we'll talk about.
Yeah.
How is your Well, you kind of touched on it before, but how is your goal progress right now? It sounds like things are very exciting and moving.
Oh wow, she asked me about me. This is a
Yay!
this is a new thing. I'm joking. Things are moving. They're moving really fast. I can barely keep up. I am drinking Red Bull way too much. I drank so much Red Bull that I went to the gym at 2 o'clock in the morning last night, and it felt great. I don't have a sleep schedule, and I don't know what's happening right now, but I'm really excited for everything. I'm staying positive, and I'm just excited for this project. And I'm excited because now the momentum is starting. We talked about momentum, and we're just going to start pushing and pushing, and lots of great stuff coming out. So I'm excited for everything.
Nice.
Even though I really
That's
don't sound like
awesome.
it, I sound very monotone. I'm very excited. I'm bursting at the seams right now, people.
Maybe you're sleep deprived, and that's the best you can give us right now.
I don't think I am, but maybe I am. Who knows?
Whatever works for you. My only point of checking in right now is that I was just thinking that I'd like to add to my goal that if I make a book and it gets to a point where it can become an audiobook, I would love to record an audiobook. That would be so fun. Clearly, we like talking into a microphone, so I think that'd be pretty sweet.
That would be really cool. But
Mm-hmm.
first, you have to get those ideas coming in,
Exactly.
showing up for those ideas.
Oh my God, let's segue into Big Magic.
Girl, you don't say segue when you segue. You
I
just
say
segue.
segue. Now you said it
Number
4
one rule
times.
about segueing, don't say segue.
Well,
We're
you can edit
learning.
it
We're
out.
all learning. No, well, just transparency for everyone listening. I do the editing for the podcast,
Thank
and
God. Very grateful.
it takes hours, and I don't have hours anymore just because of everything else that's on my plate right now. And I'm going into practicum in about a week. So that's just more stuff for me to do. So we're
Mm-hmm.
going to try something new, which is just giving you the whole spiel.
Yeah, no editing.
Well, barely editing. I might just do visual editing because I don't think anyone just wants to see like a
Yeah,
Zoom
okay.
screen for the whole thing.
We're
But
down for that.
yeah, no more cutting out large sections that didn't really work or where we were stumbling a lot. So I had to cut it out. I think we're getting better, but
Yeah.
now we're going to push ourselves to be so good that editor Fenmore, future me, doesn't hate us anymore.
Yeah. We
So
appreciate future Fenmore,
thank you,
who's
future
probably sitting there
Fenmore.
going, oh, Jess is playing League right now. God damn it. Here I am with no spare time. But he also has the skills.
Yeah, and it's faster for me to do it, and I do enjoy it. So, well, let me rephrase that. I enjoy the creative process and giving out content and making content. So that part I enjoy.
Perfect.
But in the
Okay.
words of Jess, let's segue into Big Magic now and ideas.
Yes. Can I just reiterate that I'm just so in love with how Elizabeth Gilbert sees the world and creativity? And she just has this like spiritual way of thinking about creativity, and it quite literally is magical. Like she just like eases my soul when I read this book and just like removes so much pressure from the process of creation and productivity, and it's
Yeah.
amazing.
She's the really cool aunt we never had, where your
Yeah.
mom is the one that's really paranoid and everything's a big deal. And she's like, chill. She's like, it's okay. Your mom's just worried about you because you're their child, but in
I
reality,
literally have
nothing
that
really
aunt.
matters. It's all good. It's all good. She's like the really cool wisdom filled aunt.
Amazing. Okay, so from our aunt, did you have any points that you want to start with?
Well, I think the main point of this whole section, we're on the section called enchantment, is that she talks about ideas being living entities looking for human hosts. And when I first heard this concept, I was like, this lady's a bit kooky. But reading her stories she talks about this one major story that's really amazing. We'll get into it maybe a bit later. But I've also had experiences where now I think that certain ideas are probably out there and they're waiting for someone to bring them to life. Because me and Justin Bieber, let me tell you something about that in a second.
While you
Anyways,
take a bite of food.
no, while you talk about what your main point
Okay.
or main points that you want to talk about from this part.
Well, I've kind of written down some points throughout, but to start, I like this. She talks about ideas as these things kind of floating around us, looking to collaborate with human creators, and they're just out there, and their main goal is to come into existence, and they can only do that through collaborating with us. And so the way she talks about an idea kind of coming to someone, I wrote a quote down. She said, "Mostly you will not notice. This is likely because you're so consumed by your own dramas, anxieties, distractions, insecurities, and duties that you aren't receptive to inspiration." Which I just really like, because I think that's so true. We don't give ourselves enough time alone with our thoughts, time set aside to kind of be open to creation and sitting down and doing the work. Like, you're not going to have those ideas come to you if you're not, maybe for me, sitting down, just starting to write and see what flows, or for you, like playing around with music and whatnot. And it makes you be like, oh my God, I don't want to miss it. Like, I don't want to miss inspiration or these ideas coming down into me. And then she says, when it finally realizes you're oblivious to its message, it will move on to someone else. And
Yeah.
again, her underlying thing is she's kind of like, I can't prove any of this. Like, it's definitely some type of spiritual or magical thinking. But what harm is it doing for us to think this way? If anything, it just makes us more open to the magic of life. I'm going to keep saying magic so many times.
It's okay. The book is called Big Magic, so you're excused. Yeah, and I love the fact that she says if you say no, you say no. Like, not a big deal. It'll just move
Yeah.
on. Whatever. It's pretty boring, but you have the right to say no. But when you say yes, that's when the fun starts. And I've been in a mode of saying yes a lot lately, just with the song. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. This drink. Yeah, absolutely. The smoke. Yeah, I'm kidding. No, we're not going down that road.
How things have changed.
Oh
We're
my.
going to get to the tormented artist portion of this later. So,
Later, let's do it right now. So
okay.
when she says, when you say yes, now it's showtime. And she talks about this idea of a contract, which I love, which I've been revisiting, is that you make a contract with yourself and the universe. And so in contemporary Western civilization, she says, the most common creative contract still seems to be one of suffering. And this contract says, I shall destroy myself and everyone around me in an effort to bring forth my inspiration, and my martyrdom shall be the badge of my creative legitimacy. And no jokes, I used to like be heavy on this contract. I thought like if you suffered a lot, like you make great music. I didn't realize, like we said in previous podcasts, you make great music or you make great art in spite of your suffering. And so I love this because she just stated it clearly for everyone. Like, this is a contract you're making with yourself. And then she presents an alternative. She's like, you know what? There's an alternative. You don't have to suffer. Instead, maybe instead of trying to kill yourself, you could live, I don't know, a good life, a really good and long life. You know that Drake song that's like, uh, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, no, I reject that. I'm here for a great time and for a very long, 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 long time, as long as
Yes.
I can survive.
Yes. Yeah. She says a different way to cooperate, or sorry, a different way is to cooperate fully, humbly, and joyfully with inspiration, as opposed to this, like,
Yes.
I totally had the same thought before, where it's like, yeah, you don't make good art, music, books unless you're suffering or you're doing drugs or you're experiencing trauma, and all of those things, like you said, can bring about good work. And I think they bring about the best work when you choose to like heal and learn from them and then create out of it.
Yeah.
Or, create through it in a sense, but don't go looking for negative life shit or toxic relationships or whatever to kind of create that drama for your work.
Yeah. You don't
Just
have
not
to, but if
sustainable.
you do, it's it's the free world in most parts. So go
Yeah.
ahead and do that. I think thinking about ideas as a separate entity is also really helpful in that mindset, because she talks about how in our societies we talk about people being geniuses, whereas in ancient civilization they talked about people having geniuses. And the
Mm-hmm.
subtleties is key, because when you have a genius, meaning like it's an actual entity apart from you that sometimes comes to help you and sometimes doesn't, you don't have to like hurt yourself whenever you don't come up with something good, or you don't have to like hold on to an idea so hard thinking it is who you are. It's not. It's just something else out there in the ether that you can choose to work with or choose not to work with, because it's not really a
Yeah.
big deal, and there's a lot more ideas and a lot more geniuses that you can work with. And I think that's a
Yeah.
really important distinction to make. And again, of course, when you first hear this idea, you're like, that's really cookie. Like, of course human beings are the one that comes up with the ideas. But you want to talk about her story that she has about Anne Patchett real quick? The Brazilian
Yeah.
novel?
Yeah. I just want to say too, I really like that idea of the external force. Like she says,
Yes.
it removes the narcissism from it. If you have an amazing idea from like people praising you, you can kind of take that out of yourself, but it also removes like the crippling, like
Anxiety.
dissatisfaction
Yeah.
when something doesn't go well. It's just like, it's this external force that you said is separate from ourselves, which I think coincides with a self-development life lesson in general, which is that we are not our thoughts or emotions, our productivity,
Yes.
our whatever. We are still valuable and worth a lot regardless
Yeah.
of all that stuff. So yeah, so she talks about this story, and I'm not going to go into detail because, again, I want you guys to read the book. But she basically had this idea for a novel. It had some very specific points. This character, they fall in love with this person, they go to this place, like very specific plot points. Like what she had said, she's like, it's not a genre. It wasn't like a
No.
psychological thriller or whatever. It was like a very like niche type of novel, and some things happened in her life and she had to deal with them, and she ended up like going through a lot and ended up kind of shifting her focus to write about this thing that was going on with her and her partner at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So this other project kind of fell to the wayside, I think for maybe a couple years or something.
Yeah.
And then she
She went to the lectern where Anne
yeah,
Patchett was speaking. That was the first time she met her.
who's
And
another author.
yeah. And when she met Anne, she's like, I love you. And they shared a kiss. Key, key action moment there. They shared a kiss. And then they became writing buddies. And a few years later, I believe, Anne sends a letter to Elizabeth. She's like, I'm starting this novel about Brazil and the Amazon. And Elizabeth was like, okay, can you tell me what it's about? And Anne was like, why? And she's like, because I think I might have started a similar kind of novel. And Anne was like, well, what's your novel about? And I'm just gonna read it out because I thought it was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So Elizabeth says, my novel was about a spinster from Minnesota who's been quietly in love with her married boss for many years. He gets involved in a harebrained business scheme down in the Amazon jungle. A bunch of money and a person go missing, and my character is sent down there to solve things. At which point, her quiet life is completely turned into chaos. Also, it's a love story. So then, after hearing that, Anne's like, are you kidding me? And that's literally what she says. And Elizabeth's like, why? And then Anne's like, well, the story I have is about a spinster from Minnesota who's been quietly in love with her married boss for many years. He gets involved in a harebrained business scheme down in the Amazon jungle. A bunch of money and a person go missing, and my character is set down there to solve things, at which point her quiet life is completely turned into chaos. Also, it's a love story. And when I heard that story, I was like, that's a crazy story. That's big magic right there, as Miss Gilbert says.
Mm-hmm.
And she makes a joke about the fact that the idea was probably passed on when they had that first kiss. I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was a cute little point. But
Yeah.
I'm inclined to believe that, because she also talks about how it's not only creative ideas, but scientific ideas usually pop up around the same time. She gives examples of like calculus and oxygen and evolution. And I do believe
Multiple
that.
discoveries, it's
Multiple
called.
discoveries. Yeah. I think there's a time for ideas. They ripen. And maybe sometimes for other people out there, if you have an idea and it just doesn't seem to be working out quite right, maybe the timing is not quite right.
Right. Maybe the ideas are like an egg in a human, and sometimes they split and you get twins, and those ideas go to two different people.
Yeah.
While we're on the spiritual thinking journey.
But I also have my own example. Very,
Yes.
very, very not. It's not as grand, but I'm inclined to believe Elizabeth's. That's a really hard word to possessify. Liz's. I'm gonna call her
Elizabeth.
Liz's story. I'm inclined to believe it because, listen, everyone remember Justin Bieber song
Who?
"Sorry"?
Yes.
It's too late now to say sorry. Now there's a instrumental that goes. I wrote that exact melody, note for note,
Wow.
about a year before 2 years before the song came out. And I showed my friend it, and he was like, "Oh, that's the same thing." I'm like, "It is the same thing." Granted, there's
You
not
didn't kiss Justin Bieber, unfortunately.
I didn't. But the thing is, though, like, it's not as grand of a story because it was like a 30-second similar melody. I mean, it could happen at any time, anywhere. But I was like, that was really my idea because it was an instrumental breakdown after a chorus. But that's just me being narcissistic, I think. But I still inclined to believe
but it's
it.
fun. It's cool. I just think this way of thinking is like, what else is it but fun, and just opens you up to be a little more lighthearted about the whole process. Like, and it applies to anything. Just
Yeah.
thinking about these ideas floating around doesn't mean you need to be a writer or a musician. Could be about, any little thing you do in your life that is a form of creation, creating yourself or your relationships or your home or whatever it is. It's just cool. I just like it.
I think it's a better way of thinking of these things for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So you can.
And it's important to focus on being open and ready for this inspiration. It makes you more kind of like looking around. Like, after I read that chapter, I was kind of like looking around me, like just thinking about the possibility of all the things kind of swirling around. And something else she talked about too was putting in the effort to kind of send that message to the universe, to creativity, inspiration, whatever, or just to yourself if you don't want to think about it in a spiritual way, that you are here and you're serious about it. And that kind of relates back to that time blocking that we're talking about. She was saying that
I'm going to have to disagree with you real quick, though.
I know what you're going to say. You're going to say about the part where I said, even if you don't want to think about it spiritually.
Yeah. Because I think
And
her point, it's not about spirituality. It's about releasing them. It's a mental trick of not putting it on yourself. So you can't say to yourself what you just said. I think she's literally saying, just give it up.
Yeah. And actually, that's a good point, because I wanted to bring that up to relate back to our spirituality episode, where you were kind of saying to me about how when I'm like, say, when I was driving in the car and kind of talking to myself or to the universe, and I was like, well, what if I'm just talking to myself and myself is the universe? And you were like, well, I think spirituality has an aspect of something greater and beyond us.
Yeah.
And I think I'm becoming more open to thinking about that, because it kind of removes a bit of the pressure from us, and it just opens us up to being okay with it not all being on our plate. And it's that idea of like the genius is outside of us. And when you sit down and you're writing, you're sending this message to whatever external force, whatever thing outside of yourself you're trying to collaborate with. And like she was saying, it's like sitting there watching her, just like making sure
she's taking it seriously.
Like, are you serious? Are you there? Okay, I'm watching you. I'm here, but I'm not gonna come work with you today. I'm just making sure you're serious. And then all of a sudden one day it's like, psh, and it's like, hey, I'm working with you. And then she gets into the flow. But so yeah, I agree with you. I think I have this tendency to think that people are gonna get scared away from like things like that, but those aren't really our people anyway. So
yeah, and I mean, it's not. She did an interview with Marie for Leo. I don't know how to say her name. Marie TV on YouTube. Um, that was a really terrible
No
string
editing.
of words for me to say. I could not say those words. But anyway, she did an interview where she was talking about the fact that you can entertain two ideas at once, where you can be a hard scientist all about facts and evolution and gravity and physics and really believe in that, but also have a space in your mind which has been with us since the beginning of time, where you believe in something that is just greater, where you just don't understand and you have to just give it up and surrender to that process. But going back to what you said about that genius or that inspiration waiting in the room, just like looking to see if you're serious. I love the quote she has at 63 where she says, you got to work with all your heart, because I promise if you show up for your work day, I'm going to read that again because I sucked at that. No editing. No editing.
Keep
Anyway,
going.
she said, work with all your heart because I promise if you show up for your work day after day after day after day, you just might get lucky enough some random morning to burst right into bloom. And I think personally, I just love hearing those things that tells me to work. Just work. Just
There
work.
you
Just
go.
do
That
it.
external someone telling you what to do.
Yeah.
That's what I think about too. It's like if that's what motivates me, having motivation to look at and to create some sort of external motivation outside of me in whatever form works for me. So if it's a little creative demon or whatever I think she calls it, and it doesn't have
Damon.
to look like a ghost.
Not a demon, a
A
daemon.
daemon.
We don't entertain demons.
What's a daemon?
What?
What's a daemon?
A daemon is a Greek word for a spirit, not a bad spirit, but like sort of like a muse of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit,
Be open to it. Work with it.
Yeah.
Get excited about it and let it come in. I think we talk about creative flow and how, you think about that tormented artist again. They're just waiting and waiting for that flow to hit, that inspiration to come, for themselves to have this brilliant realization that we feel comes from within us, versus just putting in the work and committing to being XYZ, an author, a musician, whatever it is you want to be, and being okay with that title meaning whatever it looks like in the moment. So sometimes I'm writing and I'm just forcing through it. Sometimes that flow is that spirit coming to me and collaborating with me and working with me.
Yeah.
It's always different.
It's always different. And again, going back to that interview she did with Marie, go look it up because it's an amazing interview. She says her first novel was horrible, like it was supposed to be horrible, but she was okay with that because the contract she made with the universe was, I'm going to be a writer. I didn't say I was going to be a good writer. I'm just going to be a writer. And I love that. I was like, same with me. I'm going to make music. I didn't say I was going to make good music. I'm just going to make music. And she also said another advantage to thinking of ideas or inspiration as a different entity is I'm here showing up doing the work. It's not going to get any better. So if one of y'all want to chip in and help out, come chip in. I was like, I love that idea. Like if I'm writing the worst crappy song ever, I can just blame it on inspiration who is not doing her work in the corner of my room. Like, can you help me out here, please? Like, and not blame it so much on me. Like, I'm so bad at this. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I think that was I think that's a lovely, lovely idea.
Yeah. And I think that leads into, she mentions Harper Lee, the author who wrote To Kill a Mockingbird, and how she wrote that book was at the top of her game. And that was the first book she published. And then I don't think published anything after. It sounds like they found some old manuscripts of hers, but didn't publish anything. And was like cited as saying that she was afraid of, when you're at the top, where can you go from there? And this idea that we're talking about kind of removes the pressure from that. And it's more of like, just have fun making stuff and then release it into the world. And don't worry too much about what comes of it. To quote Elizabeth, you can measure your worth by your dedication to your path, not by your successes or failures. And she's like, I wish Harper Lee just kept putting out books. I wish she just put out like 4 crappy, cheap novels after, and just to get it out. And the thing she said was like, then maybe other people would forget who quote unquote Harper Lee was, in the sense of like this
Right.
big name that she created for herself, and she could just get back to writing. And ultimately, that maybe she could also forget that label that she'd put on herself too, that she felt she had to live up to.
Yeah, absolutely. And she was also talking about the fact that what a way to look at success as a curse when it's just a great fortune. Like think of it as
Mm-hmm.
you landed on a great fortune. Now keep trotting along.
Yeah, like here you go. Now you can devote all your time to writing and
Yeah.
releasing whatever you want because you're set.
Yeah, we don't have that problem yet. We will have that problem soon enough, but not
Mm-hmm.
just yet. I think the final thing I want to say on the idea front, idea being a separate entity, is
Mm-hmm.
that I'm low key terrified that it's gonna cheat on me because it's what if I get an idea and it's like, your brain's not what I thought it was. Let me move on. I'm like, there is an idea that I've been holding on to for years, which I really don't want someone else to take. It's not music. It's story based,
Mm-hmm.
and I've made a contract with it. I made a contract with it, quote unquote. I've asked
Mm-hmm.
it to stay with me for another 5 years before I can start working on it because
Patient
I
idea.
don't want it to go anywhere else. I'm like, please stay with me. Don't leave me. You're mine. That's my attachment disorder. It's with ideas.
That's interesting though, because I feel that with my book too. Like sometimes I thought it was going to be about one thing and then I leave it for too long and I return to it. And I'm like, it's not that it's helpful for me to just label it as, oh, this is crap. I just kind of don't feel that connection to it anymore, which to me just feels like it's kind of
Left you.
flown the coop and it's
Mhm.
time to totally change it. And even now with it, I kind of look at it and I'm like, I can already see this changing into something slightly different. And maybe that particular idea has kind of moved on a little bit, and that's okay.
That's
Sometimes
okay.
it's painful, like she said. Sometimes you can just be excited about it.
You can be excited about it. And you know what else you can be excited for? Our sponsor of the week, which is my amazing. Look at this. This is my amazing bookmark. It's an Irish or Scottish or Welsh. It's a,
Celtic.
it's a white people saying, "May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back." I think it is actually Celtic.
Well, yeah,
I love it. And I want
same
that for
thing.
every one of you. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. So thank you for my bookmark for sponsoring this week
And if you look under your seat right now, you will find your own bookmark
that we place.
taped underneath it.
You get a
Straight.
bookmark. You get a bookmark. You get a bookmark. And that's all the 3 people listening. Thank you.
Okay, Fenmore, are you ready? I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay, but we got to
What,
wrap it up. I'm
what are
kidding.
your goals for the coming week?
Let me look at my insanely hectic calendar. My
Or
goal is to
anything.
survive.
Okay.
My goal is literally to survive this week.
Why don't we say for this week, we'll do a little mini kind of future desire, which is stating at the end of the week in the past or present tense, I guess, how it went. So, for example, for me,
Wow. Mm-hmm.
it's the end of this week. It's next Wednesday. I'm ready to record the podcast. I had a really good week over the weekend. I got in some good flow with my work, not because I was able to control inspiration coming to me or not, but just because I blocked out the time and I sat down and I did it and I allowed for that space to be filled up with my curiosity and for the words to flow. And it was awesome. And I had fun. And I also did all that fun home cleaning shit that I have to do.
My house is a mess.
Yeah.
I have fruit flies by the galore
Oh no.
because I left some bananas out. anyways. Okay. So for
Future desire.
me, it's the end of the week. It's Wednesday. I've only drunken 5 Red Bulls. I am so happy I've caught up with all my mixing that I can catch up with. My song is Flowers is done. And oh yeah, and that people really love the cover that I'm releasing with Mr. Sleepy Legs. It's really cute. It's a really nice little song. And I just feel so much better and excited for moving forward. Like, this is going to change my life one way or the other.
And yeah, check out Fenmore's songs. He released one this week. I mean, by the time
Called
you listen to it,
Holocene. It's
he's probably released like 2 or 3 by then.
No, it's going to be one every 2 weeks.
Okay.
So
sorry. He's released a couple.
That's misinformation. Do not listen to her regarding my project. That's not a reliable source.
Yes.
Okay.
By the way, we record on Wednesdays and we release on Mondays. And right now we are a couple weeks ahead. So if we have any dated information, that is why. But we are working towards maybe getting
Caught up
more up to date
very soon.
But also maybe we want to allow for Fenmore to have an extra week when he needs it. I feel like there's just going to be a week where you're going to be like, I can't do it. So that would be
I think if we move to just a raw format where all I have to do is move the angles a little bit, it won't take me that long. The longest part about editing is making sure that I cut up the awkward parts, but then still make it make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. And on that note, because we're not cutting out the awkward parts today, we got to wrap it up.
Wrap it up. It's been 40 minutes. Yikes.
No. I've had people say they want longer. I've had people say they like shorter. So you can't please everyone. You just got to do you. Inspiration hit us. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Send us out.
Thank you everyone for listening. And remember, have fun out there.